It's delicate, it's beautiful, it's transportative. It takes you to another world. Hello, it's Billy from Santi Samples, and today we are checking out the Yangqin, a Chinese hammered dulcimer, a variant of that overall family, though the unique quality of the Yangqin is that it uses bamboo beaters. And the beauty of a bamboo beater is its light and flexible nature. We can get ricochet bowing, where we attack the string and the end of the beater will naturally ricochet and bounce on the string because of the flexibility of the beater itself. We can get soft and hard variations with either leather or rubber overlays that lay across the beater head and create a softer, more delicate, more rounded texture. Or we can use the bare bamboo wood and get a nice bright attack to our notes. Okay, let's take a look at the user interface. As you can see, it is housed within our overlay performance thresholds system that we are rolling out across our entire library range on the instruments that require that sort of functionality. So we can again just perform and play, and our engine will spit out the correct thing based on the velocity input that you have used. So on offer is the soft beater, the hard beater variation, picked sounds where we use the reverse side of the hammer to pluck the strings as opposed to hammer the strings. The ricochet bowing with soft and hard beater variations where the end of our beater ricochets off the string. Double pick, which again is the plucked effect but just plucked twice. Rolls with the soft beater and rolls with the hard beater. They have dynamic controls as well for dialing in soft to loud crescendos where required. Okay, so we are on performance mode 1 here, which makes use of the soft beater, the picked textures on the lower velocities, anything below 35, and the ricochet soft beater, which is everything above 95 in velocity. We've been listening to that already. Here's how it sounds. Such a beautiful sound. Okay, performance mode 2 effectively does the same thing but switches it into hard beaters. So we now get the leather cap off the beater and we get that more pronounced, slightly brighter, slightly more aggressive sound. Awesome. So much character, again, defined in every little miniature performance here from a sample set perspective. Okay, let's jump into the key switching. So again, this isn't really the ideal way to use any of these libraries anymore because we're just all about getting in and using the velocity to drive your performance based on how you play on the piano. However, key switching is still there and is still on offer, of course, linked from A0 up. So the soft beater, which we've heard plenty of already. Such a beautiful texture. That's probably the 99% use case with that and the hard beater. Let's move on to hard beater now. Very cool. The picked texture. Awesome. The ricochet bowing with soft beater. I love that texture. That ricochet bowing just really sings. It really brings this instrument to life. Okay, the ricochet bowing on the hard beater variation now. Great, double pick. That one's really inspiring. That's so nuanced and interesting in its kind of textural development. I love that. Okay, the rolls. Soft beater up first, and here our mod wheel is linked to the dynamic slider. You can change it, of course, to anything you want by right-clicking and wiggling, but it is set by default to your mod wheel. Now this will go from a harder very cool texture. Okay, the hard beater variation. Great. Okay, on the right hand side of the interface, you'll notice that there are release times. These are for the hits and for the rolls. So the hits is everything from the soft beater, hard beater, picked, ricochet, and double pick. And the rolls are the two variations of soft and hard beater rolls. These will just create the amount of time that the note lingers for once you've released the note. So if we stick on the hard beater rolls and we turn this release time right up, and I'll press a note and let go, it rolls on for a little bit longer. If I turn that right down, we'll get an immediate stop. There we are. So there are extreme poles of this, all the way down to absolutely nothing and all the way up to incredibly long release times. So somewhere in between that kind of 10 to 2 position on the dial is going to be about right for something that will sound nice and natural. As with the hits, the same thing applies. A nice long release here is natural because unless you're stopping the note physically with your hand on a Yangqin or any hammered dulcimer, you're going to be getting this natural long reverberation where the sample should, in all rights, play all the way to the end. So nice long release times are your friend here, but if you do turn them down, you'll get that kind of hand muted sound. Of course, you sacrifice that kind of reality a little bit, so bring that up to the kind of 2 or 3 o'clock position. And you get a nice amount of release whilst not having the notes kind of pushing into the next part of the phrase too much to create a muddy sound. So somewhere in between 2 to 3 o'clock is a good place for this dial to live. Okay, so down the bottom we have our what's becoming fairly conventional now for our libraries and the people that are used to using them. We have the key switching mode, the overlaying mode, where we can now select multiple articulations and layer them to taste. We also have our pre-baked performance mode 1 and 2, which we've already discussed and seen. As we play, our velocity indicator will show us where we are in our velocity range as we play. It is affected by how we play. Okay, on to the Polystep. So this is a Polystep sequencer. It will play a sequence based entirely on your input. So if we go back to pattern 1, I'm going to solo this pattern here, and we've got a series of velocities inputted, a series of pitches inputted. If I hold a note, we'll now get a performance of this sequence. And then of course from there you can either change to different patterns entirely, or you can layer patterns. So if we unsolo this now, we have a slight variation on pattern 2 that just introduces some polyrhythmic textures almost, and a little bit more on pattern 3. So if I play all these 3 things together now, we're getting a more complicated sound there. We're getting more rhythms kind of jumping through as if the player's kind of having fun with that phrase. Of course, we can take this to an extreme. If we opened up pattern 4 and layered in a whole new bunch of velocities, I'm obviously doing this completely randomly, and some random associated pitches. They will only trigger on the ones where the velocities are. We'll get something really chaotic. So you can see it's a super powerful sequencer basically that will allow you to do something very conventional and something just time-based that is a basic phrase, all the way up to something really crazy and experimental and avant-garde. Okay, let's turn this off and head to the arpeggiator, which is your basic arpeggiator. We have the on, off, hold, and hold plus minus, which will remove notes and add them as you play them as part of your arpeggiation. Okay, we have the order here. We can change any direction, any type of movement we wish. We can change the length of the arpeggiation itself, all the way up to 32 steps. We've got the strike, which will just repeat multiple notes. These are all kind of standardized things within the arpeggiator on most of our engines that have them. There's a duration of each note step, so whether or not it's a long extended note or whether or not you've cut it very short and it's very percussive and aggressive. All of that's there on the arpeggiator page. Right, onto the effects. We have our somewhat standardized stereo, delay, and reverb units. So we can widen the stereo field of the instrument. We can add in some time-stamped delay here that will sync to your session. And we have a plethora of convolution reverbs on offer. Okay, that has been an in-depth look at the Yangqin, the Chinese hammered dulcimer, a really unique, textured and beautiful instrument that just transports you to somewhere otherworldly and enchanted, and just adds that extra layer of world to what you're working on. Head to insanitysamples.com for more information. Thank you for watching.